Good afternoon, everyone. This is Linda with Linda Sue Plants for you. I always say it's going to be a short video, and it still ends up somehow being at least 20 minutes long. So I'm not going to say that today. But today all I want to do is repot my aloe. I've been kind of putting this off because it's in kind of a state here that I'm just not sure what to do. I need to get it out of this pot, and as you can see, it's the concave, which normally I stay away from these, but I ended up using this one for my aloe, and I'm hoping that the root system's going to be small enough where I don't have to break the pot to get it out. I don't think I will, but there is that possibility. I bought this aloe vera a while back, a couple years ago, and it was quite small, and it was upright and beautiful, and excuse me, I had it in my bedroom, sitting on top of my dresser, and all it got was some north light that, well, it got some southern light that was bouncing off of the yellow siding and back into the bedroom. I wasn't sure if this plant was going to make it in there, but as you can see, it did. It grew, and I think it grew pretty nicely. I mean, I've seen other aloes that are much healthier looking. Their new leaves are much thicker and bigger, and that's okay. I really kind of like the way this looks. But it's been in there for, like I said, I believe it's got to be close to 2 years now, so I want to make sure that I give it some fresh new soil here before winter. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it out of this pot, and I'm going to put it in another pot, and I'm thinking about putting it in a clay pot, just so it can breathe a little better. But I'm not sure if I should do that either, only because I forget this is the only plant that I have in that room, which is on the other end of my home, and I sometimes forget to water it. But last winter, normally in the wintertime I don't water it, and last winter my husband was worried about it, and he said, well, don't you think you ought to give it some water? And I thought, well, I don't know, maybe. So I gave it a little bit of water, and it did not like that. I quickly brought it out into my south end of my home, and I left it on my dining room table where it got good sunlight for most of the day, and it perked back up. So thank goodness. I almost lost it. It was feeling kind of mushy and weak, and I was really worried I was going to lose it. So I won't make that mistake again. I am not going to water this through the winter, so I think it'll be okay in the terracotta pot. So I'm going to grab that. I apologize for not having that right here. I thought I had it right next to me. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm not sure if that's even going to be big enough. I may have to use a different pot, but I guess I won't know until I take it out. So if I have to go pot hunting, I will put my camera on pause while I do that, and I will be back. But let's see what happens when I take it out of the pot first, shall we? Okay, and before I do that, I want to also mention I always use the same mixture for all my plants, with the exception of my succulents and my cactus, and my African violets, my calatheas. Actually, pretty much all of my plants get the same soil mixture, with the addition of different things for different plant species. For my cactus and my succulents, I always add sand. I start out with, as most of you know, I start out with my potting soil, and a little peat, a little coco coir, a little charcoal, and sometimes orchid bark. I don't always use orchid bark, and I'm not going to for this plant, but I am going to add sand. And I always added sand because I thought it gave it extra drainage. And all the years I've been raising plants, I did not realize something. And I was talking to a friend of mine, Suzette from Suzette's Gardens, and we were talking about this, and she explained that the reason for using the sand is because it adds calcium and magnesium and phosphorus to the soil, which our plants need. I never knew that. I usually get my calcium from Epsom salt, and we use that very sparingly, but I have used it, and it's helped a lot on some of my plants, and maybe we'll do a separate video on that one of these days. But at any rate, I did not know that, and she said, well, yeah, she raises poultry. She has chickens and ducks and all kinds of animals, and she said that's what they call grit for the poultry, that's what they need to help their digestion and things, and to give them those minerals that they need. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyways, for me, I'm adding it for the reasons that I said. So what I'm going to do is mix a little of this up. I'm sorry, I have this already mixed up, the soil mixture, and I'm going to put it in the pot and then just add the sand into the pot, because I don't want to add that into my mixture, because I'll be repotting other plants today, hopefully. Today I'm using the black gold perlite and the black gold soil, the organic, natural and organic. And I have a bag here. I'll just show you that. I don't know if you can see that. I don't want to break my plant here. That's what it looks like. And I found this at my Stein's Garden Center, and I really like it. I know in past videos I've said it doesn't really matter what potting mix you use, and I still believe that. I think, you can amend your soil however you want with whatever types of additives that you want to use, and you're going to get the same result. But I wanted to try something different, and I used to use the Miracle-Gro, and I really got away from that now, and for various reasons. But that's the soil I'm using right now, is the black gold, natural and organic. And I do add worm castings to that and perlite. So for those of you that, if you're interested in knowing what I use, that's what I use. And now I just realized that this pot does not have a drainage hole. This is the one I picked up at the thrift store a while back, that my husband has to drill a hole in there for me. So I do have another pot here that I think will work. And I really apologize. It's not like me to be unprepared, but I guess we all have our days, and today is mine. Okay, so how about this one? I think this will work. So we're gonna, I'm gonna take this plant out of its pot, and most of you will recognize this is my very professional plant tool that I use to dig around the side of the pot, otherwise known as your everyday kitchen butter knife. But that seems to work the best, so that's what we're gonna do. Oh my goodness, this is heavy. All right. 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 And again, I'm so hoping that I don't have to break this pot to get this plant out. I'm trying to stay away from, as much as I love the shape of these round pots, they really are trouble when it comes to getting the plant out, especially if that plant is root bound. It's very, very difficult to get your tool in there to loosen it around the edges without harming the plant or the roots. But I think this feels pretty good. I think this is going to come out okay. I hope so. I would be so sad if I lost this plant. It has a little memory attached for me that oh, I think it's coming. I think it's coming. Ah, yay! Success! Look at that. Out it came. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, I'm so excited. You don't know how I was stressing over this. Isn't that silly? I was worrying for nothing. Wow. Okay, I'm going to try and just loosen this a little bit. And those of you that know me know that I have a hard time when it comes to disrupting the roots. I don't know why, but it just goes against my grain. And I know I've been told by other plant lovers that it can actually be good for the plant to do it. And I'm sure they're right, and I'm sure they know what they're talking about, but for some reason it just, I don't know. I just feel like, I always feel like I'm hurting the plant when I do that. Okay, I need to get this in a pot, and I realize the one that I have here is actually far too big for what I need. So I don't believe I have another smaller one within reach. Let me look. And if not, that's okay. Nope, I don't. So I am going to go grab a smaller pot, and I will be right back. Okay, and I'm back. So I found 2 pots, and I'm choosing white because my bedroom is all in like a sage green and white, and those are the only colors I have in there. It's very calming. And so I have this pot, which is a clay pot that someone painted. It has a drainage hole. And then I have this pot, which my husband drilled a drainage hole in a while ago. And I brought them both in because I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to use. So let's see. Oh yeah, this is going to be, I think, way too big. I don't know. Maybe not. And this one, I'm thinking would be just right. In most cases, this is the size pot I would use for this size root ball. But I'm just not sure here. I'm thinking that's probably big enough. I'm afraid this one's going to be too big. Yep. And the reason I say that is we know that more plants die from overwatering than underwatering. And we also know that what happens is when you've got too much soil around that root ball, the roots can only take up so much water, and the plant can only take up so much water. So once the roots drink up the water and they get up into the plant, and then the roots are holding water, that's the maximum water that they can intake, and that's the maximum water they can hold. What happens is if you have too much soil around here and that's still wet or even moist, if it's not drinking it up, it's not drying up, by the time it does, you're going to have root rot. So I'm going to use the smaller pot, even though it came out of a bigger pot. I'm going to use the smaller pot because I just, something my gut is telling me that that's what I should do. So I'll set her here. I'm going to put a little bit of soil. Not sure if you can see that okay, hopefully. And a little bit of sand. I think a little more sand. And I just go by feel, and it's just from years of raising plants. I get to know how it's supposed to feel when it's right, I guess. And that's not always a perfect answer either, but it works for me most of the time. Okay, and I think we need a little bit more. What we don't want to do here, for those of you who are not familiar with this type of plant, or with any plant for that matter, when you're repotting, you never want to go higher than the original soil line. There are exceptions to that, of course, if you're making cuttings from the Sansevieria, the mother-in-law's tongue, Sansevieria. You know, those you can cut off and stick in the water and they don't rot unless you overwater them. But in most cases, when you repot, you want to make sure that you don't go above where that original soil line was, because it's not used to being wet up there. And if you get it wet up there, it will rot it. So I'm going to bring this up as high as I can. Yep. This is plenty big enough pot. And I'm going to mix a little bit of soil here with a little more sand. And I apologize if you're not getting a good view of this. I hesitated doing this on camera for that reason. I knew it was going to be rather cumbersome, and trying not to break off the ends of my plant, and trying to keep it within the shot of the camera so you can see what I'm doing. And I will go over this later with my little, I have a little tool with a brush on the end of it, I will get all that dirt out of there. We don't want that to sit in there. And I think we need a little bit more. Oops. It's a very wide plant. And I know most aloes, when I see them, they get big thick leaves, and they do grow out sideways, but they usually grow up more than they do. They usually grow more vertically than horizontally. When I see them in perfect growing conditions, but unfortunately I don't have that, so we're making the best, making do with what we have. Alright, I think that's pretty good. And as always, I am going to give this a shot of water. And that's probably the last watering that it's going to have this year. And once I do that, then I will add a little more soil mixture on top of the pot here, as I always do, because it settles down, you know. And hope for the best. I'm really hoping that it's going to enjoy its new pot and its fresh soil and the added minerals from the sand. And we'll revisit it again in the future if we have progress and it does any more growing this year. We'll let you know that, and if not, then we'll look at it again in spring. Right now I can see there's new shoots coming up through the middle here, and these are new shoots, so it's doing okay. So let's see what happens. Alright folks, I appreciate that you all came to visit my channel. If you like what you see, and you want to, give me a thumbs up. It's very much appreciated. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you want to see more of what I do in the future, then by all means hit the subscribe button, and hopefully we'll see you back. Thank you all for coming, and hope you have a great day and rest of your week. Bye now.